Yeah, it's really nice that you can do that while traveling because, or do any of this while traveling because that's the dream, isn't it?
Yeah, like just it's so it for me, and I can't imagine I'm different from everybody else. It's like a boat anchor being stuck somewhere, right? So in the past, I had a, kind of like medium-sized holistic health clinic, and it was like the death of me. Like I had to close it. I got pre-diabetic from chronic stress, and so I was like, okay, so we did that and we thought that was the dream, but the fact is that's not our dream anymore.
Yeah, I had a similar dream, I thought. I worked probably about 3 years ago. I tried really, really hard to get a physical location. And
Hmm.
I always thought for years and years and years and years, I've thought that I wanted a physical location that was like a holistic community center for like
Yeah,
resources. Because I know for me personally, and for a lot of people, depending on where you live, for sure, like in bigger cities, it's more prominent to be able to find resources like yourself.
right,
But especially in rural areas, which is where I'm from, there was nothing. There was no place that you could go. I had no, okay, so for one, I didn't even know what healthy living really even was. We think we do. People think
right,
they do. They think,
right.
of course, diet and exercise, right? But until you start actually putting these things into practice, you slowly start to realize all that you don't know. Like if you're not used to eating healthy, if you've never really ventured far from the standard American diet, you have no idea how to, like, what am I supposed to eat? Steamed broccoli every
Yeah,
meal? What
yeah,
am I
that
supposed
sounds
to?
not fun.
Right. You know, um, for so long, the way we measured health was by body weight, you know?
Right.
And so I come from a family who they were all very lean, they were all
Hmm.
athletic, and I wasn't for lots of reasons. But their idea of eating healthy was let's okay, fried chicken salads drenched in cheese and ranch dressing. Like
True. Yeah.
iceberg lettuce, which is nutritionally void. They didn't realize. So we spent a whole year where that was pretty much all we ate, and nothing was working. Nothing was fluctuating. The weight wasn't falling off.
Yeah. Almost every client that comes to me, they all tell me that they eat healthy, right? Like everybody, almost everybody that comes to see me, everybody thinks they eat healthy. So that, so then we're like, okay, well, what are you eating? Like, gotta
Hmm.
dig a little deeper.
Yeah. When gosh, there's so many different tangents we could go on. Um, I was diagnosed with hypoglycemia when I was like 14. I
Uh-huh.
started passing out all the time.
Oh,
Couldn't,
wow, it's bad.
it was so bad. It was so bad. I couldn't go outside and get too hot. I couldn't participate in any sort of physical activity. I couldn't hardly do anything. And that was just from the hypoglycemia. And not to mention, I could hardly even walk outside without my eyes swelling shut and being
Oh,
covered
wow.
in hives head to toe from allergies. And, you know, my whole family that like they it was just normal to be sickly. The My grandparents were in and out of surgery after surgery after surgery, a cocktail of pills in the morning and a cocktail of pills in the evening. So they were like, it's just normal at 14 years old to not be able to go outside, not to be able to do anything. And I was just like, okay. I mean, if you say so. And the doctor's advice was just to eat more. And that was it. That was the advice that the doctor gave me. Eat more. And so I got into my fast forward to my 20s because I lived okay, trying to eat more. And then when I was 23, we lost our first baby. And that's kind of what kicked off my whole
Hmm.
like, what is going on here? This doesn't make sense. Everybody around me I know is sick and dying, essentially, surgery after surgery and doctor visit after doctor visit. And I had such anxiety about health. And I thought I was doing okay. I thought you know, for whatever reason, looking back, I was definitely not doing okay, living off of ramen and Hot Pockets, tortilla
We've all been
chips,
there.
no nutrition. But I started overhauling my diet because I discovered online medical webinars that anybody could just jump in on and learn. And I started fixing my diet, and all of a sudden, my hypoglycemia was completely under control, and my allergies started to disappear. And it's amazing what just diet alone can shift for you in your health and wellness. But there were no options for this information just readily
True.
available, and
Right.
people worship the ground that their doctors walk upon. So if the doctor says
Right.
you need to take these 8 pills every single day for the rest of your life, well, I guess you're just going to have to take those 8 pills every single day for the rest of your life.
Right. What's needed is more of like a bird's eye view, right? Because it's like people are what, like they're in construction, they're in real estate. Like, how would they know? And even like a lot of the advice, like you found with your eat more advice, it's a little bit of the opposites, right? It's like a case of the opposites, that the conventional advice given out, like I like to help people right now with metabolic and cardiovascular things, and they often tell them to do a low fat, high carbohydrate diet and a low salt diet. And this actually gives us the opposite effects that we desire, and they're still doing it like in conventional cardiac rehab, because people are, studious little, patients and they'll follow the advice and then they get worse.
Hmm. So the advice is to eat more carbohydrates?
Yes.
That's
Yes. I
odd.
literally have a doctor that came through my program. So he's a doctor from Las Vegas and he's very like a Boy Scout, like so cute personality, right? So he had an event, he went to cardiac rehab, he followed the advice, and his blood pressure got worse. His blood sugar got worse. He was having a rhythm. I mean, he was kind of a hot mess when he came to see me. I was like, oh well, I mean, I guess he needs to try something, you know?
And that's so frustrating when they trust the science and they trust the doctors. And, I'm always reiterating that we can't blame the doctors.
No.
They also, if you become a doctor, chances are you're a very studious type, follow the rules type of person,
Right.
because that's a very vigorous,
It's a
uh,
commitment.
yeah, yeah, like monetarily and time and work and all of that. But
Yeah. But they
the
trust
cop,
that system,
yeah.
and so it's not like they're a bad person. Like they believe what they it's a very top-down system and they just
Hmm.
they are almost like soldiers, right? Like they believe what they've been told and they're like moving forward with that with a little bit of tunnel vision.
Yeah. And so I started just slowly like not trusting the system because,
Right.
the colleges, even they all have their own agendas, and the agendas come from, it's like any other business. It's
Yeah.
the will, they're there to make money, and they have to abide by the rules of whoever has the most invested in the college.
Right. Right. I like to say, because, people kept saying like follow the science. I was like, yeah, but the
Which
science
one?
often follows the money, you know? So it's
Which
more like
side?
follow the money. Yeah.
You can find studies, you can find legitimate scientific studies that support anything that you want to
That's what
put
my
your
son
backing
said. He
behind.
said, he said, now with the internet, like you want to look up eggs are good for you, you're going to find that. You want to look up eggs are bad for you, you're going to find that too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So after so that kind of kicked off the, well, not even yet. After our whole loss of our child and the medical holistic, all of that I started diving into, I ended up becoming going and getting certified to become a birth doula because I
Cool.
noticed all of the discrepancies between that is an industry for one, that because like it's the medical field is just very diverse and has 1,000 different directions that you can focus on endlessly. But that one
Yeah.
for sure is one that is wrecked with, we have study after study after study that shows that the standard practices are not helpful and are oftentimes harmful, and yet doctors still just worship them. And I had a really hard time because I do have two very healthy children now, but
Right.
I had a very hard time with my doctors and finding one that I could jive with. They all hated me because I had,
Your own mind.
in my mind. And so doctor after I ended up, I probably had six different OBs and finally did. There was a couple in there that, you know, kept up to date. And I understand that they're very busy and that the medical field is always evolving so quickly that it's really hard to keep up with the new developments and all of that. But that's really why it's so important for people to be informed in and of themselves so that they can work as a partnership with their doctors instead of just taking them for face value.
Yeah, that's still a big issue I hear from a lot of my clients this day that they get pretty frustrated, because they're trying to find other options and even it's like I saw this one lady like she's like she talks a lot about medical gaslighting, and it
Hmm.
does seem like it happens. I don't think they're doing it on purpose, but like I'm like, who gaslights on purpose? Like that's pretty twisted, right? People don't, it's like an unconscious behavior, but it's like they're not getting the results they want, and they even tell me that their perception is that they get a hard time because they're actually also choosing to see a naturopath and go a different route
Hmm.
and other things, you know. It's not very open-minded.
Yeah, I have a friend who just a few weeks ago got fired from her doctor's office as a patient because she was asking questions. And she was like, I don't even understand what I did wrong. All I asked were, are we sure that this is the best route? And because, it's scary. Medical stuff is scary. And you want all of the information, and it's impossible to know what the right answer really is. Like we can try something and it not work, or we can try uh, nothing and then it solves itself. Like you just never really know which direction to go.
Yeah, I always wonder when like things like when they tell someone like that they've got 2 months to live. I'm like,
How do you know?
exactly.
That's kind of rude.
It's so rude. And then some of these people get better and live for like 10, 20, 30 years too, you know?
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing that is good because if you have the right personality, like you had that light bulb moment, right? You'll get pissed off in a way that makes you take action, right? So
Hmm.
in that way it's good, right? Because when things are comfortable, we're not going to change. We're not going to look for new solutions, right? So in that way, sometimes it's like that little straw that breaks the camel's back that you need.
Sure, and it's the difference between a victim and a warrior's mindset, which
Mm,
is applicable in every division of life, no matter what.
right.
And so man, my family is so big. I have like five, six grandparents, and every single one
Oh
of them had
wow.
like 14 brothers and sisters, and we
Oh
all live
wow.
in this area. So I've seen a lot of different types of things and people from like a personal standpoint. And I have so many aunts and uncles who have been diagnosed with cancer. And the ones who, were always playing victim in their life, who were always like mad about how things didn't work out for them, or this happened to them, or that happened to them. If they got diagnosed with cancer, nine times out of 10, they died pretty quickly. They just kind of like accepted it and laid down and were like, well, this is it. And
Right.
the ones who, even though they came from the same background, they came from the same upbringing, they came from the same, circumstances and situations that landed those ones in jail, but these ones picked themselves up by the bootstraps and made their own business and became very wealthy and well adjusted. Those ones get diagnosed with cancer and they're like, I don't know about that. And then here we are years later and they're still doing okay.
Exactly. It's like the solution finder. Have you ever heard that story about like the two brothers that walk to a birthday party and they have completely different experiences, right? Like the mom was busy, so she said, "Why don't you guys just walk?" It was raining, and then at the birthday party they had a food fight with the cake, right? And so one brother was like, "It was terrible. My mom wouldn't even drive us, and then we got rained on and I got splashed and they shoved cake in my face." And the other brother was like, "It was great. I didn't have to be bothered by my mom. I got to be independent. I was splashing in a puddle and then I got to throw cake at everybody. It was awesome." You know, it's
Uh-huh.
like that sort of a thing. It's the same experience, but it's like two completely different perceptions.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about what you make of it and your your reality starts within your mind. Yes, you're encountering these real things, but we can victim ourselves into the dirt real easy, real quick. It's so easy to play victim because that takes the responsibility off of you and because responsibility is a lot of work and it's kind of stressful and it's a little anxiety inducing. But if it's somebody else's responsibility and we're just, taking the doctor's word for face value or, I can't because I'm ADHD or I can't because I had a terrible childhood and I was abused and we grew up really poor, so I didn't have the opportunities that this person or that person had. It's so easy to just, that's the easy way out. It takes a lot of work to take responsibility and choose the good outlook rather than the bad outlook. It's been raining
Yeah.
for like 2 weeks straight over here. I could
Oh,
cry
wow.
about that, or I could take a bike ride in the rain and find the whimsy.
Yeah, plant some sunflower seeds or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think mindset and in turn our stress levels, I think those are the most important things that we can do for our health because
Right.
even if we are eating all the right things and trying to exercise our body appropriately, if we're too stressed out for the rest, digest, and heal
Right.
aspects of our body to take those
Hmm.
pieces of the puzzle and building blocks and work with them in a proper manner, then it's all for naught anyway.
Yeah, what I've found, and I feel like it's everyone is like a reflection of me, but what I found with my clients and myself is that we've basically been living in survival mode, even if it's low key and unconscious, for decades. And and maybe we needed to at one time, but now we just don't know how to take our foot off the gas. And when I slide that question in, almost everyone like it clicks. They go, "Yep." Even if they think that they're not stressed, they're just very, very good at denial because you don't have to. I always tell them you don't have to be yelling at people or having like a huge life crisis to be stressed. Just having a never-ending to-do list is
Hmm.
like being on chronic stress, right? Like having to be here and there and there and everywhere is living in chronic stress. And so I think it's just like anything, like first step one is just to notice it, like acknowledge it, right? Because if you
Hmm.
if you don't acknowledge it, then you can't change it, right? What do they
Hmm.
say? Like what you resist persists or something like that.
Yeah, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs also. So you have to get to those upper levels where things are more spacious before you can self-actualize. We all want to
Hmm.
get to that self-actualization, whether or not we even understand that that's what we're after or that's what we want or that that's a thing. Um, And society and culture has just been designed to keep us stressed out and anxious all the time. And, we
True.
could always debate whether or not that was intentional, or just a result
Probably.
of consumerism, or both, you know?
Hmm.
Because just the nature of consumerism in and of itself is very go, go, go productivity, consume, achieve, gather
Dopamine hits.
stuff. Yeah. So the opposite of that is goes against the grain and it goes against the fluidity of society. And, as social creatures, we want to go with the crowd. We want to go with the stream and do what everybody else is doing because that gets us connected with these people and that builds relationships. And how are we supposed to find connections and common ground with these individuals if we're over here, and there's as more things become available to us via the internet and options, then we do have more opportunities to find people who are on this slower path. But for the longest time, it was against the grain. You had to fight tooth and nail if you wanted to do anything differently than what was expected baseline.
Yeah, everyone just thought you were annoying.
Yep.
Right.
And
And it was
crazy
like
and
and you
stupid.
had to do everything yourself. You had to make your own nut milk. It wasn't like, it wasn't like you had an option, or you had to
Yes.
make your own gluten-free stuff. Yeah, yeah, it's gotten so much better. Like I remember like 10, 12 years ago, there was so much education. Like all the time people were like a naturopathic what? And they're like a detox was like a real hard sell. And now everyone knows that they should detox. Like I just love it. Like I feel like everyone's evolving, even at
Yep.
like the base level, like everyone knows they should detox, that their gut is important. Like so we've made leaps and bounds on our awareness of our health. Like I'm thrilled about it.
So am I. I think it's a great time right now to be in these types of fields because, and it was, man, it was such a hard sell just 10 years ago that people don't, even now though, people still want the easy fix. You
Oh
know,
yeah. That's in the
yeah, it's pretty frustrating. I let's see. I play pickleball. I play competitive
Oh,
pickleball.
that's fun.
And I was in a group message or whatever, and they were talking about how they need some, like the leader dude was like, just so you guys know, you really need to do extra stretches and strength building outside of pickleball so that your body's capable of doing all of the things. Pickleball can't just sustain your entire exercise regime. You really need to do all of these other things too. And I teach yoga. So
Oh,
I was
cool.
like, oh, goodness, if only we knew someone who could formulate some stretches specific to pickleball. Just kind of like, haha. And not everybody in there knew that I taught yoga. So a couple of people were like, oh, yeah, yeah, you need to come to one of your classes. And then one guy was like, do you work at Stretch Zone? And that drives me crazy because are you familiar with Stretch Zone? Do they have that
Th-
where you're at?
They have a couple things like that over here where you just go and let the people stretch you.
Yes. Yes, and I am being super biased and super pretentious about it. I'm like, you guys, w- we don't even want to stretch our own body. We want to
Body. Yeah.
lay down and have
Yeah.
somebody else do it for us. Like, we just
Yeah.
want everything spoon-fed to us these days.
Yeah, a lot of people write me or comment on social media and they go, "What's the product?" Right? Like there's a product that's going to heal your metabolic and cardiovascular system, and that's just wanting natural substances to replace medications, but you're using the same framework, right?
Hmm.
And I always tell them like, "Hey, we have things that can help with this and can help with this." But that's like a temporary bridge. That's like a band-aid because it's a systems-based approach. That's how we get results. That's how we actually heal the body. Like
Hmm.
I always tell them, I need at least a 6 out of 10 from you because we can't do it for you,
Hmm.
like at a minimum. But everyone's still in that kind of a pill to fix my ill mentality. So I always say, if you're looking for a magic pill, there isn't one. If you're looking for a
Hmm.
magic treatment, there isn't one. Yes, things like EBOO and plasma exchange are cool. They are not the magic ticket. They're just, if that's what you're looking for, you have to wash your brain a little bit. But we do have a system that works, but you have to show up.
Yeah, the plan is the product.
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
plan sounds daunting. That sounds like something I have to do every single day. God, that sounds so time consuming. But like, yeah, you're living life.
Yeah.
Period.
How
That's
would you
it.
feel to like not worry about having a heart attack? Like that'd be pretty cool.
We're living life every single day. We're eating food every single day. We're moving our body. We're having thoughts and words and actions and, all of the things you're already doing every single day, the piece by piece that equals just living life. We're going to take all of that and we're going to tweak it just a little bit. And we're going to show you how you can take this thing that you're doing and move it 2 inches to the left and make it a little bit better for you. And then we're going to take this and move it 2 inches to the left. And you just slowly start. And it is overwhelming at first. If you're
It is.
looking
It's
at
always
it,
overwhelming at first.
everything is. If you're trying to learn a new language, and you know like 3 words of the entire language and it's structured completely different from,
Yep.
like just English versus Spanish or
Yeah.
French. It's
Yeah.
structured differently.
All
So
those verbs. Yeah.
you don't say the class of you don't say yoga class, you say the class of yoga. Like you have to rewire all of these what you're used to into which is not working, obviously, into something that can work for you. And it does become easy and it does become
Yeah.
second nature, just like
Yeah.
what you're doing now is second nature.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to push through, like it's work at first, and then you just push through till it's just a habit, right? And just kind of layered. And I love when people say I was overwhelmed at first, but now I can't believe how easy it was. You
Yes,
know, I love that.
because usually none of it's complicated. It's just a
Mm-mm.
learning curve. It's just a matter
Yeah.
of piecing
The
it
mind wants to
together.
complicate things.
Yeah, it does, unfortunately. So for people who aren't too familiar with these types of things, tell them what exactly a naturopathic doctor is or does or
Yeah, yeah. So, a naturopathic doctor could be any, any kind of specialty. Often, they're family practitioners, general practitioners. But we go through medical school, we go through licensing. Many of us have our DEA numbers, our NPI numbers. In Arizona, where I'm based, we can do prescriptions, minor surgery, all of that. I rarely do any of that stuff, but once in a while, things are needed, and they're always in general going to go after the root cause, right? We're not going to be too hung up on symptom management, and we're going to go after the whole person, right? Because we've talked about, eating, but also the mind is very, very powerful. So it'll make you or break you, the emotions, lifestyle, nutrition, all of that, so treating the whole person and going after the root. And what I found, and I was shocked when I got into this, was that people can heal. I mean, I was sure diabetes was forever. I almost fell out of my chair. And when I was a new medical student, that this lunch and learn guy was telling us how he reversed his diabetes. I was like, hold the phone, right? And I came from like the hospital. I was a respiratory therapist. I saw them like I was scratching my head though because I'm like, why are they feeding all these diabetic people pancakes that smell like chemicals every day? Like this is weird, you know? And then we kept going through it. And like people were healing from cancer and people were healing from arthritis and autoimmune disease and all kinds of things. And like there's so many things that we were told through society, through conditioning, that was
Mhm.
the way to go. I mean, I was afraid of butter most of my
Yep.
life. I was sure if I ate butter, I was going to die of a heart attack, and I'm
Yep.
probably not alone there, right?
Nope.
And then it was in naturopathic medical school, so you guys already know you're like way ahead. That I found out that we need fat to feel full and have a stable metabolic system, right? So that was kind of a case of the opposites. Because remember, I'm an 80s kid. We all were like low fat, no fat, lean cuisine. I thought I was so good with my lean cuisine, right? But what happened when we were obsessed with low fat? we all got fat. That's what happened. We were obsessed with low fat and we all got fat. Then this diabetes, kids didn't used to get diabetes type 2. That wasn't a thing, and so something wasn't working there. But I had to be told by a very spicy holistic nutrition teacher that, right, for it to hit, like you need fat to feel full. And I was like, really? Because it was just part of common knowledge. Like, you got to
Hmm.
avoid fat, you've got to avoid salt, and so there's so many things that were like a case of the opposites. And if you've been told it, like, I don't know where you stand, but I've landed in like intermittent fasting as a lifestyle, but we were
Hmm.
told I was a hypoglycemic kid too. Feeder, feeder, feeder. What happened? As an adult, I became pre-diabetic, right? Because that's
Hmm.
the first warning sign that we've got metabolic imbalance, right? So that was a case of the opposites, just feeder, feeder, whatever, and that just causes more
Hmm.
roller coasters for the system, like, right? Your system was like, we're done here, you know.
Hmm.
And so I there and it's just think about this, right? Because maybe people know about this. When people have a lot of plaque in the arteries in the heart, they'll grow an extra one. Like your body will grow an extra artery. Like, and this is while you're not even trying to be healthy, right? Like you don't even know that it needs to happen, right? So imagine if you gave your body the right ground, right? If you gave them the clean field to work on. Imagine if you can grow an extra artery while you're actively unknowingly poisoning yourself. Of course, it can do amazing miracles that we were told were not possible when you give it the right environment. And if you want to just make it super simple, it's bad stuff out, good stuff in. And
Hmm.
then just have faith because it's a divine creation and it's amazing.
Yeah,
Have hope.
crowding out's always what I've told people because that's the easiest thing. If
Okay.
it's not about because our culture wants to just, you know, it wants to eliminate. That we're always like eliminate sugar, eliminate processed foods, eliminate
Mhm.
toxins, eliminate, get it out, get it out. And like, yes, absolutely. But in practice, that gets really overwhelming really quick, and people want to try to overhaul everything overnight, and
Right.
that's unsustainable. So
Right.
instead, just try to get more broccoli in, however you can. Try to get more good stuff in. Try to get more water in. Try to get, and the more you focus on getting the good in, which is a lot easier to focus on rather than deprivation, because
Hmm.
that's exactly what it feels like at first, and the more you tell yourself I shouldn't eat the cookie, the more you want the cookie. So if instead you switch it to, okay, I can have the cookie, but first I need to eat all of these veggies, then a lot of like you'll find that eventually you don't want the cookie anymore. Because the more sugar you eat, the more you crave. And if you're already stuffed full of all of the right things, then that leaves less room for the bad things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I found early on when I started this holistic health journey, probably about 24 years ago now, because my son's almost 23, um, was that I just wouldn't get stuff for my house. I was like, I'm not going to put chocolate in my house because I'm just going to eat it all up. Like that was like, kind of, you have to kind of like gamify it and make it, so it works for you. But nobody's perfect. Everybody cheats. Don't think nobody is perfect, right? And so a lot of docs and holistic health people will say like the 80-20 rule, like try to be like following your ideals like 80% of the time. But like, of course, you're going to want to go and have Italian food and, gelato or whatever, like you have to live your life too. But it's just, don't be too hard on yourself because also like being intense is part of the problem, right? Because like, I mean, especially a lot of people that come to me, I work with a lot of like, business owners and even they're retired, but they don't know how to stop being so like on it with everything. So being intense is part of the problem, right?
Yes.
Often, it depends on your personality, but like often, like, so learning how to like unwind that intensity is really important too.
Yeah, we're coming back to the mindset stuff, because there's I know a lot of people who one specific person I think of, they've always been a health junkie,
Hmm.
essentially. You know, they've always eaten the right things. They've always done the right things, checked all of the boxes,
Hmm.
ran a mile every day. You know, like all the things that they possibly could do, they've done, and still end up with cancer that just they'll beat it and it'll come back, and then they'll beat it and it'll come back, and then they'll beat it and come back, and it's just over and over and over again. So in cases like that, we're looking at what is the missing piece, you know, because they've done all of the things they're quote unquote supposed to do. And more often than not, I find that it's mental and emotional that's causing, and like, you know, I can't prove this. This is um what's the word?
A
Uh,
theory.
yes, yes. But they're very miserable people just in and of. They're very angry people just in and
Yeah.
of. They're very
Hmm.
blaming and victimy. So even though they're eating all of the right things and cutting out all the toxins, and you know, they would never eat or they would never use any product that wasn't natural, and like they've done all of the right things, but they still have all of this toxic energy circulating through their body day in and day out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I actually started reading a book you might like called Abandoned Principles of Reality.
Ooh.
And it's really great because every chapter is only like 3 or 5 pages. So the chapters don't stress you out, right? You feel like a winner. But it kind of boils this down, right? Because the secret to thriving here as a human is all about the mind, right? The mind and the emotions, right? And once you mind your mind, you're rocking, right?
Mhm.
If you let your reactions and like you said, like the victimness and stuff, like you're self-sabotaging like unconsciously, constantly, right? So then
Mhm.
you're never gonna like level up to the next level, you know? And like you said, it's easy to blame, but it gets you nowhere. It gets you nowhere fast,
Mhm.
you know? But that's a great book. You'll love it. I've been recommending it to all my patients. Somebody actually wrote me yesterday. Thank you for recommending this book. I love it. But
Awesome.
it's all solid gold. I got mine all highlighted up.
Yeah, there's lots of books that we could recommend. I've been trying to, or I was trying for a while to keep a list of all of the book recommendations for people, because it's
Yes.
knowledge is power, man. And
Yeah.
you know, you take people want to do all or nothing. They want to, you know, it's that restrictive mindset of structure, which you have to find what works for you. And some people need that rigid structure to abide by, and that's great. Other people need more spacious and fluidity, and just always looking into these things. There's no right answer. There's no one size fits all. Nothing's one size fits all. It's always taking what works for you and what resonates with you and moving away from things that don't. Of course, with discernment, because we always want to move away from the things that we need the most, don't we?
True. That's true. Discernment. That's the ticket there. Yeah, like a lot of people, and sometimes it's the opposite, right? Like I've always been a very flowy, creative, kind of gypsy soul. But then what I'm really craving now as I get older is more systems and more
Hmm.
structure. So sometimes it's the opposite. And if you're very rigid, maybe you need to get a little more flowy. And like, maybe it's one of those
Hmm.
things like with the body where it's got to be a little bit of balance, which is really funny because my son is very, very rigid and like logical. So we're like a nice pair, him and I, because we're so opposite. And he hated my guts when he was a kid. He just thought I was the most obnoxious, annoying person he ever met in his life. And now it's great because he's older and he thinks I'm adorable and he sees how we can complement each other. And I'm like, oh, I'll take that any day over the old stuff, So people come into our lives to help us like balance that out too. And I think that I loved freedom and free flow because of like growing up and like the traumas I survived. I didn't want to get stuck anywhere. So like
Hmm.
unconsciously, I had this idea that I had to be free. to not get stuck so that I could thrive, right? And now that I'm older and maybe a little wiser, I'm like, no, the real freedom is going to come by having like banks on this river so it doesn't flood all the villages, It's still flowing strong. So that's kind of where I've landed in my own journey. It's still a work in progress.
We're all always works in progresses. We always overcorrect before we find the balance. Because I can relate. I had a very rigid upbringing. Also, there was zero freedom. And so, of course, when I got to the point to where I could finally start stepping out and finding freedom, it runs rampant. And then you have to heal those wounds of being trapped before you can finally find freedom in the structure and the rigidity. There's like that's something with monks or whatever they talk about how true freedom is in the structure and in the routine. And you're not, because monks are always seen to be very rigid and very dep deprivi deprivative. They deprive themselves of the riches of the world and the satisfactions, the pleasures of the world. But
Hmm.
and then they'll argue that true freedom is in the self-control of not needing those and not falling victim to the pleasures of the world, because the pleasures can, sweep us away. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I read something too from that book that you'll notice that like a lot of really powerful, amazing people like they wear the same thing all the time. Like
Hmm.
they don't want to waste any energy on stuff that's just gonna like feed the ego and stuff like because they want to like channel and create. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that before. Like that's a really interesting way. And I love these monks that came over, I think from Tibet, and like, man, when they chant, it sounds like human didgeridoos. You're like, whoa, this is awesome. But I noticed that they were also very playful, like with the children too. So maybe there's
Hmm.
kind of like that side of them too.
Yeah, our culture is always like grow up, be an adult, be mature. And what that does is it crushes all childlike wonder and creativity. And that's exactly why we're all stressed out, because we're taking everything too damn seriously. It's not that serious. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. Like, is life and death? Yes. Is
Yeah, you're
that
definitely gonna
serious?
die.
Yes. But that's going to be present no matter what. And we can drown in the despair of that, or we can, choose the childlike wonder. We're like, oh, yeah, yeah, da, 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 and like focusing ourselves elsewhere so that we can find happiness and bliss and peace and wonder despite the darkness, the ever looming darkness of the finality of life.
Right. Yeah, you can be the light in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
If someone lights a match in a dark room, everybody sees that. So that helps everybody. You can choose to be that light. And another thing that I've realized more, I've always known it, but I've just realized it more lately is that um they have that saying, it takes a village,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it really makes sense. And I think it did used to take a village. And now one of the reasons we're so stressed out is like you're the village. Like I'm the village. Like I'm the village. I'm the elder, I'm the engineer, I'm the medicine man, whatever storyteller,
The
like
marketer.
you're the village. And that's another reason why I think people are so stressed out is that they're
Hmm.
taking on a lot. Also, we don't have those connections, right? I think that
Hmm.
modern life is isolated, and even the connections that we have is not real. Everything is very shallow. Like how many people do you go deep with? I mean, are they going deep at happy hour? I don't think so. You know, I don't know.
I do.
That's another.
I'm very terrible at a party.
Yeah. But that's what I love. kidnapping people basically. Like I do these small group retreats and doing everything family style, but then they're also out of their environment, right? So it's easier to heal is what I found, because I found that for myself when I was in naturopathic medical school. I'm like, I've never been so unhealthy in my whole life. I need to get out of here. And then all the people, what I love is I do everything together. And at the end, the people are always like best friends. Like they're doing Christmas parties and barbecues. And
Hmm.
I, they fell in love and they're still together. And they're like the cutest couple ever. But it's just like those little moments of like creating that community. And like you said, like if they all came to heal, they're likely on the same vibration,
Hmm.
and so there's like that chance for that. Really, I think that's really important, and we're not really doing that in medicine, right? Like you like okay, we've got like the sound healing and like the yoga and stuff, but like those need to have a baby with health, because that's really going to help people heal. Like I saw a thing where they were taking like I don't know, like daycares or like kindergartens into like old folks' homes. I was like, phew,
Yeah.
amazing! Yes, more of this. Yes.
Yes. Going back to how it's supposed to be, where the village helps out the village, and we don't have community anymore. It's very sectioned off, um, and shallow. It took me 30 years to figure out that when people said, "Hey, Savannah, how are you?" They're just saying
Going
hi.
through the motions.
They don't actually. So many times, I would be like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I'm not doing too great actually." And then they like zone out and then turn around and walk away. And then I turn around to my husband or my friend or whoever, and I'm like, "Why did they ask me how I am if they're not going to listen or actually want an answer?" And like, so 30 years it took me to figure out that they're just saying hi. They don't actually care. And I have a friend who is from Bolivia, and she was ranting about this. She was like, "How are Americans supposed to find friends and connect with
Yeah. I
if,"
think it's hard. I think it's really hard.
she said, "Y'all's culture is completely walled up. Everybody has thick layers of walls
Hmm.
surrounding them. So it's superficial, and the moment you start getting any kind of deep or towards any kind of feelings, they freak out and dip." And that's accurate, 100%. We don't know how to address emotions. We don't know how to have space for emotions. And, like for decades, probably longer, there was no room for emotions. Or, because it depends on what period of time in history you're looking at, because different periods had different time availabilities and different struggles of what they needed. If you're working 16 hours a day and just struggling for food, shelter, and water, the 5 hours that you do have, and then you have to sleep on top of that. So they had, and then, birth control wasn't a thing. So they probably had 10 kids that they're having to, and you can't give to each and every one what they need. My grandmother was the second oldest of 14, and their mother was a single mom. Their father died when she was a young teenager, or I don't know, something like that. And so their mother had to work ridiculous amounts of hours and then come home, and you have like an hour or two. You don't have time to sit
Go
and
deep. Yeah.
every single kid the emotional attention that they need, right? So it became the default too. She was like, I think that because she couldn't give each kid what they needed, she gave none of us anything, you know?
Wow.
So she just, because that's all the capacity she had.
Yeah.
And you just rinse, wash, repeat that throughout all of society. Parents don't have the resources.
Yeah, I noticed that too, because America's really interesting country, right? Because a lot of people came here because they were like, well, screw it. What else are we going to do? I hope this works out, right? So that, and then so a lot of us, like my family included, were poor, like kind of like
Yes.
just a hope and a prayer. And so they came over, right?
Uh-huh.
And so like my grandfather that I'm visiting, they didn't live on a farm and they didn't live on a ranch. So they really felt how poor they were, right? Like they were hungry and they were cold and they dumpster dove and he couldn't go to school because he didn't have shoes, like for real. And I don't think that there's a lot of families that this isn't a piece of their history, right? So you
Yeah.
have to hustle your butt out of that, right? Because you're
Mhm.
like, this sucks, right? So then there's also that like that's where a lot of this hustle of America comes from. It's because we had to hustle ourselves out of the dumpster, like
Mhm.
live, because we're like, this is not good. And that's part of it too. I think too of this American thing is like because it's like how like won't take a siesta. There's no siesta. Like,
No time for that.
oh, you got to burn the candle both ends.
Hmm.
So that's what I noticed because as I'm getting like the stories as he gets older and I'm realizing we're running out of time, then you can step back and look at the whole family and how they all, even at the family reunion at the campground, they're all like running their businesses on their phones and and there's no signal,
Yeah.
and you're like, it's like imprinted in the DNA, like this hustle. And then you look around at like just kind of the whole country and you're like, oh yeah, I think a lot of us kind of have a similar experience, origin story, coming over here. That's
Hmm.
what I realized just last year. I was like, huh, that's where some of it comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my family's rural Alabama for as far back as it goes.
Wow.
Um, if you got up and you went hunting, you went fishing because if you didn't go find food, you didn't eat. You didn't have meat.
Right.
And then every one of them had gardens because, and if it didn't rain, you didn't eat. It just
Right.
that's what my dad remembers not having running water.
Hmm.
Um, my grandmother tells me stories about how they had to make all of their clothes out of rice bags and flour sacks.
Right.
Not only their clothes, but their mattresses, their pillows, everything stuffed with hay. And, we think that she said the first time she ever went into a city, she was a teenager and her older sister was, she had one older sister. All of the rest of them were younger. And her older sister was driving. They went into a city. It was like, it wasn't a huge city. It was probably like Huntsville, like Birmingham, something like that. Like nothing too extravagant. She said she laid down in the back seat of the car and had a panic attack because there were so
Yes.
many buildings and so many people, and she was so scared.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And our memories are so short. We think that this was hundreds of years ago, but the US is only 250 years old.
Yeah.
That's two and a half generations.
Yeah.
That's not that's not long at all. And so we're all still very young and we're all still very, like as a society, as a culture, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that is messy. Like I think as a society, as a country, we're essentially in our teenage years.
Yeah. We're
And
evolving. We're evolving, you know?
but it's messy. Growing up is
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah. In some ways, though, I'm like, hey, like, if we just go back, like, not that many generations, like, everyone used to beat their kids, right? And their wife, right? So we're evolving, like, we're
Sure.
evolving, right? Maybe we overcorrected. I don't know. But like we're evolving, right? And quickly. Like generation by generation, like my son, I said, oh, honey, when he feels, like neglected or not considered, I said, oh, honey, no one cared what I wanted when I was a kid. Like, it did not matter. I'm like,
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time hiding in my closet.
Yep.
I'm like, you've got it good, sweetie.
For hours, and they didn't even know you were missing.
Nope. They're like smoking, drinking wine coolers. Who knows what they're doing? Who
Literally,
knows?
I had a cousin that was 3 months older than me, so we were very close in age growing up. He's since passed away, but uh, at 12 years old, they were like, here's a four-wheeler and a BB gun. And we would leave at the crack of dawn and go kill squirrels. We would come back. You know, we've got like 200 acres, something odd
Wow.
to just get
Explore.
lost. Yeah. So we'd leave at the crack of dawn, go kill some squirrels, come back to our grandmother's house, who was supposed to be watching us. She's not even home. Who knows where she went? Cell phones don't exist. You know,
Right.
if we had gotten death, and like, we would clean them and cook them and eat them ourselves. So
Oh,
like,
wow.
yeah, you know, and then meanwhile, I worked at a convenience store when I was like 16, 17, and got in really big trouble one time because this kid came in. He was like 7 or 8 years old, and he came in with a purpose, and he threw his money down on the counter and he went, I want a pocket knife.
Oh,
He had
shoot.
exact change. He knew like he had been
He's been
planning.
planning it.
And I was like, okay, which one? You know, I didn't know that you had to be a certain age to purchase a pocket knife. Okay,
Yeah,
apparently you
yeah.
have to be like 18 or 19 or so. You like have to be
Mm.
legal voting age to be able to have a pocket knife. We're in bumfuck Alabama. Okay, every 5-year-old boy I know has a pocket knife.
Right.
Yeah, but you know,
You're like, you don't have one?
yeah. So it's funny seeing the differences between when we grew up versus kids now. And, you know, we go kayaking all the time, and my kids got their own kayak when they were 7. So 7 years old is when we were like, here's a kid's kayak. Good luck.
Yeah.
And so they're 8 and 11 now, and they're one with the river, and they're just taking the turns and the rapids with grace, like it's no big deal. And they're getting to the age this year where, or last year, we started taking their friends, and like some of their friends' parents sometimes come, but sometimes we just get the kid. And it's so funny seeing a 12-year-old floundering, a 12-year-old boy floundering and flipping and can't stay on a kayak for anything. Meanwhile, my 8-year-old daughter is just kind of like doing
Cruising.
circles around him. And I bring all this up because kids aren't exposed to like we're always so concerned with the things that kids are exposed to. And but while we're protecting them from the dangers, we're also protecting them from experiencing life and building the self-confidence that they need,
Right.
the
Yeah.
coping mechanisms that they need, and
Right.
learning how to sit with themselves in nature and wonder about
Right.
the world.
Trial and error is missing, right? We don't want the error, you know, we don't want the error, but it's like that's how we learn. So this might be one of those things where we've overcorrected as a society from like total neglect to like total helicopter parents or something, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's like maybe something in the middle.
Me and my friend took the kids the other day to the park, and we sat at a picnic table and played mahjong. And my son's the oldest, so he's 11, and he had brought his kite, and it's an enormous kite. Um, it's a dragon. He really likes it. And he just would not go out into the field. I told him 8 times. I'm like, you need to back up a little bit and get into the field and away from all these trees. But this particular park, the way it's set up, it looks like a wooden castle. It's very
Cool.
elaborate. It is really cool. There's trees all around it, and it's just this big wooden structure that looks like a castle that just goes in these um obstacle course type thing. It's really elaborate and really cool. And in his head, the dragon was flying over the castle, you know?
Yeah, I
So
could see
despite,
that.
yeah, it was so cool. I mean, yeah, it was cool. But despite me telling him like 8 times that he needed to back up and he was going to get caught in a tree,
You had to
eventually
do it.
he got caught in the tree. And
Yeah.
me and my friend were just kind of like, well, good luck with that. And we just kept on with our game. And no fewer than 4 or 5 moms came out of the woodwork and were working together to get this kite out of the tree. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, now I'm a bad mom. And she's like, no, you're letting him learn from his mistakes. I'm like, they're going to think I'm terrible that I'm just sitting here letting them. And she's like,
Playing your game.
yeah, playing my game. She's like, you didn't ask for their help. He didn't ask for their help. They chose to come help out of the goodness of their hearts. If
Yeah,
anybody says anything, you told him several times. And so like I love that we are more compassionate and more empathetic and more understanding and more involved. But yeah, there's a happy balance you have to find to where the greatest teacher is letting them fail, letting them learn.
failure, failure. Like, how did you learn, right?
Because how else are they
And
going to become functional adults who nobody's coming to the rescue?
yeah, and the bigger the failure, the bigger the lesson, really, sometimes, you know?
Oh, absolutely,
Um,
always.
yeah. It's like God knocks and he knocks and then he just slams you down, you know? And then you're like, "Ah, should have listened the first couple times, but now I get it."
Yeah, there's only I think they said there's only like two ways that we learn, and that's through our own like downfalls. It's the hard way, essentially, or the
hmm
easy way. And the easy way is me being like, hey, you're gonna get that stuck in the tree. You should probably back up.
Taking good advice. Taking good advice.
And
Yeah.
almost no one learns the easy way.
Comes with age and wisdom, I think. I mean, looking back, there was so much good advice I was given when I was younger, and I'm like, what do you know? To my uncle and my dad. I'm like, you're insane. I used to think my dad was insane. He was a health nut. That's kind of how I got into this. But like even like the college thing, like when I was getting ready to go to college, he's like, why are you going to college? And I'm like, Dad, this is the opposite of every other father-daughter college conversation in the country right now, And I just thought he was insane, but everything, like they say, hindsight is 2020. And I'm like, now, I'm 44. I like to take advice from smart, successful people and don't think I know more than them. Yeah,
That's the
but when
hallmark
I
of
was young, shit,
teenagers.
I thought I knew it all, man. It was full of piss and vinegar and way too confident. Yeah.
So how did you get into all of this? So your dad was a health nut and you just
Yeah, it was kind of like fate, because I remember going to school and there were these kids that like knew that they were going to be a lawyer or whatever when they grew up. And I used to just go, wait, how do they know? And they're so sure because I was just like, I don't know, you know. And then my mother got really sick with breast cancer as a young woman, right? We lived in Alaska. So I'm the second oldest, I'm the only daughter, and she had a baby. So I stayed home with her and I went to all these appointments with her and took care of her baby. And she never got better. I was like, we're going to the doctor, like we're going to these appointments, and she always was sicker after every appointment. So here my kid going, something's not adding up here, right? Like, because we're going to all these appointments, she's not getting better, she's getting worse, right? And then eventually she got so sick that the neighbors were concerned. So they called the they said they were going to call the cops. So she had to send us away, So she had to send us to live with our father. Me and my oldest brother has a separate father in Mexico, like the country, right? So we literally went from like Alaska to Mexico. And then she ran out of resources. I don't know how it is now, but back then she ran out of resources in Alaska. So she had to come down to what we call the lower 48, like the mainland, right? And with my grandmother, her mother in Texas, where they had more medical facilities and stuff like that. And she just ended up not getting better. And she passed away. And my dad inherited me and my older brother. And as well-meaning he was completely not up for the job at all, right? Of being a father. And so then we fast forward to when I got pregnant with my son, like 24 years ago, I'm thinking it was now. And then that was my light bulb moment, like your light bulb moment, where I'm like thinking about my dad and his weird, like 10-day juice fasts, like in the 90s. I'm like, you're not going to eat food for 10 days. And me and my older brother were like, he's insane, you weirdo, right? And he would like rant and rave about NutraSweet and MSG and blah, blah, blah. We're just like, ugh. Like let me get that egg McMuffin. And so then I'm going, okay, I'm pregnant. Dad's some kind of weird health nut. My mom died when she was 33, and I had this story in my head like, I'm going to die young, right? Because my mom died at 33. Her cousin died in her 30s of breast cancer. Her mom had breast cancer twice. I'm like, there's literally no doubt in my mind that I'm going to die young of breast cancer. Like I had it like all written back here, right? So I'm like, okay, I don't want this kid to not have a mom because I know moms come in all different flavors, but my mom was like Pollyanna. Like she was so sweet and loving and supportive. And then at 11, you don't have anyone that understands you, that's your cheerleader, that's loving. You're basically like a cat. It's got to land on your feet, from that point on. And so I didn't want that for my kid. And so I went to my dad humble because look, I know, like I made fun of you a lot, like I'm a brat, I'm sorry, but I need you to teach me how to be healthy because I don't want my kid to not have a mom, right? So not only did that open up that for me, but it let me let go of this idea that I was going to die young, that I was carrying around since I was like 11, that I'm just might as well like make the most of it because your ticket's up, sister, right? I had this like ongoing story, so it shifted from that. And then luckily I came from a family of business owners and entrepreneurs. So after, starting going to the hospital route, respiratory therapy, I'm like, well, this is a lot of work and I don't even want to do this, right? And so I decided to take that leap and do the naturopathic medicine thing. And I thought I'm going to treat cancer, right? Because my mom died of cancer and I got in there, made best friends with the cancer doc and then hated it. Absolutely hate it. They had the best high dose vitamin C, mistletoe, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The people were miserable. Savannah, they're telling me, like, you're all bright eyed and bushy tailed. I'm like, new medical statement, didn't cure cancer, right? And they're looking at me like dead. They're like, I'm going to die. And I'm all, something's missing from this treatment plan here, and right. And I had learned about mind body medicine in undergrad. So we do the round table if you're like in medical training, right? So then we go with all the other students and the docs. And I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we want to blah, blah, blah. And they're like, eh. And I'm like, okay, like I'm out of here. I'm like not into this. These people are clued out. And then it just came like, well, maybe I want to deliver babies at home, right? But you know what? That's a cool process, but the Dr. Swan was just so cavalier. I think I just loved her energy. So I hung out with her for a while, but the thing is I love sleeping and I couldn't sleep at night because I didn't know when the babies were going to come. And it was just jacking me up like an already like single mom in medical school with 10 jobs that rents her house out like a hotel. I couldn't do it. I'm like, this is for somebody else. Like, I can't do this. And then it just was so random. Everyone was like, blah, blah, blah at medical school about prolotherapy. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It's like injection therapy and it literally heals like arthritis and like bad joints and stuff. And I'm like, why is everyone so hot about prolotherapy? I don't even really know what it is. And they had a seminar in Vegas when we had a break from medical school. So I said, let's go find out. So I went over there and it was like mind blowing because this was like early regenerative medicine, like no drugs healing, right? And it went beyond joints. And I was like, what? And then they would give all these amazing case studies and then do this open room where they were doing hands-on teaching. And there were like dozens of spots you could go to. And I was just like overwhelmed, like, ADD heaven, right? And so this lady I had been writing in California to see if she would mentor me was there. And she saw me just kind of looking around. She goes, come with me, Mel. This guy's really cool. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. And this is what sealed the deal. He's like, I love treating C-section scars. Who has a C-section scar? Me. Okay, good news, bad news, right? Because then here I am, you're in your underwear in front of everybody, right? I'm like, oh man, shouldn't have raised my hand. This is kind of embarrassing. And then he's telling me, Melanie, like this scar never healed. Like see how it's big and pink on the sides? It shouldn't be like that. It should be like a small white line. And I'm thinking, just wrap it up, buddy. Want to put my pants on? Like, I'm not even into this anymore. And then he's telling me, and scars hold memories. So when I inject it, you might have some memories and you might cry, whatever, just let it happen. And I'm like, okay, like, let's go, dude. And then he's saying, and you have adhesions all the way up to your ribs. I'm like, I don't care, just inject it. Like, I want my pants on, embarrassed. And so then he starts injecting it. instantly I get a flashback because that was the first and only time I'd ever been in the hospital when I had to have the C-section. So it was all weird and crazy. I had like the new nurse that didn't, she put a needle in my vein with a tourniquet connected to it. My blood's like squirting through the air. And I'm going, is this supposed to be happening? Like, what's going on here? Like the whole thing was just weird, right? And so I'm like, okay. And they start crying because it was such a weird memory, the experience of the memory. The memory was weird. And then he's done. I'm like, okay, yay, put my pants on. The next morning, it's gone. Like the big pink on the end, it's all one white line, like you said it should be. And I was all, wow, this stuff really works. And I had inflammation all the way up to my sternum. Like he said, I had adhesions up there. And that was like the huge wake up call for me that like this regenerative medicine is for real and it can really heal people. And then I went full on to find like the mentors and the workshops and everything. And so that's what my work is I like efficient holistic medicine. So it's kind of a merge of like the naturopathic medicine and the regenerative medicine. And then fast forwarding, I had my medium holistic health center and stressed myself into being pre-diabetic. So that's where the metabolic, psycho obsession came from because I was not about to be pre-diabetic or diabetic. I was like, oh hell no. And I knew it was my fault. Like I wasn't looking for anybody to blame. I knew it was my fault, right? Like I knew I was taking on too much for years and years and years. And so that was the hardest part was to go, okay, well, where can I stop? Because I'm not going to get better if I don't stop. Like, where can I give things away? Where can I just let things go? Like, how do I downsize that? And then I had to do a deep dive on metabolism, and find all those blind spots. And now I make all my clients wear a continuous glucose monitor because I find that's the biggest tool for compliance. Like, we can tell them blah, blah, blah all the time. It doesn't sink in until they see it in real time on them. And then, because even people that get really attached to, extreme diets, they can just see, I just say, well, just see if it's working for you. Here's the guidelines, and here's the guidelines. And that's how it all kind of came together. And then I never thought about doing cardiac. I have so many interests, right? Like my son's autistic. I did a lot of stuff with PTSD, depression, anxiety, even psychedelic therapy in the past. And this guy came, so cute. He would show up once a year on a mini health kick, but he never did any of the homework, right? Because he was like one of those. But they told him, hey, you're going to have to put these stents in your heart. And this is lucky for us that he has a strong personality because I didn't even realize you could do this until he told me. He said, I don't think so. Give me 2 months. And I was like, wow. And they said, okay, And I was like, well, if we can all learn that, guys. If they tell you need stents and you're not a hot mess, ask for 2 months. Like we can do that. So that's what this guy taught us. And so I was really present with him because I knew he was really serious. And then the protocol just came in, right? We have 2 months. This is what we're going to do. And I was shocked. Like he showed up. He did his part this time. That at the end of the 2 months, they excused him from needing stents in his heart. So that's kind of how it all started. And then we just kept like working it and finding that it was repeatable and worked with other cardiac stuff too. So that's like the whole like twists and turns. I'm sure there's other stuff in there, but that's kind of how we landed here. And I didn't know if I wanted to do it, but it wanted to be born, right? And then if you think about it, if we live long enough, there's cardiac stuff, there's metabolic stuff. So, and this protocol is so easy, like it's repeatable. So if you, like I said, if you give me at least a 6 out of 10, you're going to see some real results, right? And so we, in a short period of time, like 2 months, right? So we can, like in reality, change the way that we age. Right? Like that bucket of pills you were talking about and like just being sickly, like we can erase that from the timeline, from the trajectory, and we can change the way that we age and we can rejuvenate retirement. And I see it all the time. And the people not only feel so good, like they look good, they lose weight, they're off their blood pressure meds, their blood sugar is normal. I mean, but some of these guys that are 60, 70, they go home and they expand their business or they build a new house and they never would have done it, but they have this new vitality and like this energy. And so that makes me feel really good about focusing on this work, right? Because like that's we're going to need it. Like our parents don't want to age like our grandparents aged, like we're like as we're evolving, we're saying hmm, maybe there's a better way. And so that's why I finally succumbed to like what it seemed like, the energy wanted to do, which is focus on this biohacked heart blueprint. And I am enjoying it. And I'm grateful because it's work that we can feel so good about doing.
What is the protocol that you use? Is it just
Well,
diet and exercise or?
no, it's a multi-layered approach. So, we detox, we disinflame. Everyone's got to get on the intermittent fasting and dialing in that glucose and insulin. That's very, very key. Then we go after the gut inflammation. After that, we do a calcium balancing therapy that takes calcium out of where it doesn't belong, puts it back into the bones and teeth. Has lots of other benefits. It's anti-cancer and all sorts of other stuff. And I say nervous system reset because a lot of people get triggered when you say meditation, but it's just like we need to
I
relax.
do.
At the end of the day, we need to relax. So I try to kind of tiptoe around it, because like even this thing of you getting triggered, that's why you need to do it,
Yes.
right? You're just showing us that you need it, right? And then the heavy lifters is that we do some IV therapy, but it's only 5 visits in clinic, or the people that come to the retreats, they get 2 sessions. And that really seems to heal the damage that's done to the endothelium, which just means the inside of the artery for people that aren't medical. And literally people no longer have a blood pressure problem. They have 50% less plaque, measurable on imaging, like their calcium score actually does go down. So all these things that they told us is forever. I've seen people heal, like they have a weak heart, maybe they already had a heart attack and it's called ejection fraction, but like they can double that or more in 2 months, right? And that's something you feel. I mean, if your heart pumping ability increases like 2 times in 2 months, like you're going to be present again. You're going to be able to do the things that you like to do again and not feel winded. So, um, and it's so easy, but we have to layer it, right? So that they'll do it. And so they get the wins, right?
Mhm.
And I like things that are efficient, right? So I want people to feel the wins because then we're going to ask them to do more, that sort of a thing. But like you said, everyone's overwhelmed at first and then they go, man, I can't believe how easy it was. I can't believe like I don't have a blood pressure problem. Like I lost 40 pounds. I loved going back to my primary care and just shoving how healthy I am in his face. I get some spunky people. But like that's why it's a blessing. So it was never my intention, but sometimes, life is just like that and it takes you where it wants you to go.
Yeah. Yeah. People think that they need the motivation before they can get started, but the motivation does come from those little wins building up.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Mm-hmm.
one win and you're like, oh, I really like that. And it's the
Yeah.
lasting dopamine rather than the instead of the hits of dopamine or whatever that we're always chasing, we want that
Yeah.
long lasting. And
Yeah.
achievement's how you get that.
Yeah. And I like my word for like this year is like contentment, right? Like contentment and like just faithfulness. Like have faith that your body can heal itself, that you can age well, and that we can let go of like having to be 10 steps ahead and like lean into that presence and that contentment. Because I think that's where it's really at.
I agree. Because on the emotional guidance scale, there, we have the high vibration emotions and the low vibrations emotions. And even people who are aware of this scale and trying to climb it, they focus too much on the higher levels, which, if you're living in the lower levels for most of your life, it's really hard to get up there to the higher levels. You kind of have to like stepping stone your way there. And yes, we can leap all the way to the top. And we do find that at like, parties and concerts and all these special circumstance things that don't happen every day. So then we're always essentially chasing the dragon, right? But contentment, those middle levels are just as good and easier to grasp on just your everyday moments. And that's how you
Yeah.
build peace. That's how you get to the happy. That's how you get to the spaciousness and all of those emotions that all of us want. Because, we all have different goals and dreams and desires and drives, but when you really dissect all of those, it's all emotional. We want to feel love, understood, seen, connected. We want to have a place and a purpose that's beneficial for everybody. And trying to get to those places, we think requires achievement. And that's why we're always, taking on more than when we know we shouldn't. We're just doing more and doing more and doing more. And it's really hard to overcome that that mindset, that drive to do more in hopes of getting what we're actually looking for. And it's hard for us to understand that we can access those emotions at any point in time with just a little bit of intention and thought. But you're right. People do get triggered when they hear the word meditation. They get triggered when they hear the word yoga. Um,
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I
And
had,
stretching every day, we should all be doing that, and being present every day, we should all strive for that. Like that's gonna help everything flow.
yeah. There really were some religious campaigns against yoga.
Isn't that crazy?
It is
It's
so
like people
crazy.
just need something to be upset about. Like it's like, look,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Jesus did not want you to just find things to be upset about.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I
I,
don't know.
I
But he
think
seemed
that
pretty cool. I don't think he was going around trying to get triggered.
I think Jesus probably would have practiced yoga if it had been like a thing that he had access to or knew about or whatever, whatever, whatever. Because, you know, I could get on a soapbox about this for a long time.
Could it be this is going like conspiracy theory, but could it be like because to keep people in like a fear zone where they're
Sure.
where they're more controlled? Because I did yoga when I was having a hard time in my first marriage, and I swear to God, it saved my life because I would just
Hmm.
be crying in my car, and then I'm just there doing yoga, and it would hit me like, oh, I'm just here. Like I'm not like miserable and thinking about my oh, I hate my life or something. And I swear to God, it saved my life in that time period because of the presence.
Hmm. Yeah, a
Hmm.
lot of people, that's why it's used in recovery programs so often. And if it's in a recovery program, it's acceptable and okay, but if it's just because to be generally healthy and work on your well-being, mental and physical, then people are like, I don't know, is this safe? I don't know. I might be opening demon portals with these poses. And I get all sorts of these things all the time, and it just flabbergasts me. I was completely struck when I first started getting pushback from people about yoga being anti-Christian. I had
Yeah.
no idea. I was very confused at how. I was like, we're literally just stretching and practicing like paying attention to our body and our thoughts. That's it. And I had people tell me that meditation was communing with spirits and that we shouldn't be opening up those pathways to the unknown and the otherworldly. And I'm like, I'm literally just trying to like notice how my toes feel and
Right. And I think that
progress.
prayer is meditation, right? Like
Yeah.
there's these, it's just choosing to get triggered, yeah, just I think sometimes, we're just so used to like being upset and putting separating things, and I don't think it's beneficial. I think it's counterproductive to us evolving as humans and having a better life, and probably what Jesus would have wanted us to do, you know, and like it's just more judgment too that doesn't need anywhere. I always strive to not judge because you never know and you don't want people to judge you, right? It's like that golden, well, just go back to the golden rule, like it's not that
What a
complicated,
concept.
people. Yeah. What happened to that? And what happened to my bad instead of like I'm triggered? How about just like my bad? Like sometimes we screw up, like my bad. I want to bring back my bad instead of like I'm triggered.
But the
You
question
know?
is, like, and that's meditation, is looking at why you're triggered because
Yes.
being triggered means that there's conflict, mentally, emotionally, belief system wise. So that meditation is looking at that and asking why, where, what exactly. Because usually when we're triggered, we don't actually understand why we've suddenly been flooded with all of these emotions and this heightened adrenaline. Oh no, hold on, wait a second. And we really have to go through and dissect why is it that we feel that way? And that's the process of working through it. The triggers
Right.
are location like beakers to what you need to work on. And
Right.
it can be if anything religious is triggering you, that's trauma based. You have
Yeah.
to dissect that and figure out why, because, Christianity in and of itself is supposed to be about love and togetherness, right? And yoga, the word, means to connect, to bring together. So,
Cool.
our Western culture wants to section everything off into categories and pieces. And that's why we're always missing pieces instead of trying to treat the whole, like ourselves, our body as a whole.
Yeah. I that's like kind of what you said about like the medical system that there's so many pieces. I always feel like it's kind of like an octopus and each leg is completely separate over here. And
They don't
and
talk
it's
to one another.
perhaps by design, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sick people are profitable. They can sell us. Sick people are fearful, and fearful people want to buy the product that's going to save them.
Yes.
And coming back into saving yourself it's scary to put all that responsibility on yourself, but it holds power.
It's
And
empowering.
there's X amount of power in the world. It's not finite, but we treat it like it's finite. And if the people who are trying to sell us products have the power, or we have the power, and if we are taking our power back to control our own health and well-being to the best of our abilities, then that takes power away from them because they have less to sell us if we're happy and content and healthy within ourselves with what we have.
It's true. It's true. Fear-based system. One of
Hmm.
the best things I ever did, if people haven't done this, is like I stopped watching entertainment and like TV around the time I was pregnant with my son, like so like over 20 years ago. And it gives you a lot of your sovereignty back in knowing how you actually view things and like feel about things. So if you haven't gotten there, I would definitely recommend leaning into that. And anything you want to listen to, you want to watch, just I ask my clients to say, well, is this going to raise my vibration or
Hmm.
is this going to lower my vibration? And you always know. You
Hmm.
always know. Like be real, and then choose accordingly, because
Hmm.
obviously the intention is to raise our vibration. Because even just by raising your vibration, you're going to raise the vibrations of the people around you, right?
Hmm.
Like your family, your friends, your coworkers, right? And then it has that mushroom effect, right? So this is like
Hmm.
this little piece you can do for humanity is like choosing accordingly like what you put into your environment, even just as songs or
Hmm.
movies or whatever, if it's going to raise or lower your vibration, and just choose accordingly.
We are what we consume, and that goes beyond
Well, that's good.
food. It's
Yeah.
media and relationships and everything that we encounter every moment of every day. Which sounds like a
Correct.
lot, but we're encountering every moment anyway of every day. So either we do it by default, which it doesn't always have our best
Yeah, they say
whatever.
that the unconscious or the subconscious is like what, like 70% negative or something. So
Yeah.
you probably don't want to do it by default because you're not probably not going to like where you end up.
Yeah. And that's exactly the presence of intentional living and mindfulness, which again have the same connotations as yoga and meditation. It's like, oh, that's some like voodoo, witchy, woo-woo nonsense. What are you talking about? I'm like, I'm talking about you paying attention to what you're doing, being a little more aware that the words you're choosing are not the nicest for, and we're real quick to choose nicer words for other people, but not so quick to choose nicer words for ourselves when our own mental chatter is the number one most interaction we get. And if
True.
that's not nice to ourselves, like if that makes it's detrimental because your body and your mind, your body can hear your mind. And if your mind is telling your body that it's garbage and that you hate it and why can't you be better? Your body's hearing all of this and it's acting accordingly because your body will do whatever your mind says. If
Yeah.
your mind is like, "Hey, I'm really stressed out," the body goes, "Oh, okay, let's be stressed out."
Right. Yeah. I always tell the clients and myself, to be careful what we say because the mind likes to cling to any kind of identity. And
Hmm.
so even if you have a diagnosis or something like high blood pressure, to be cognitive and try not to say, oh, I have high blood pressure. Oh, I have heart disease, whatever, because the mind goes, oh yeah, we have heart disease. Like let's cling on to that. Even if you feel like you're full of baloney, I like to do like the thumb going over the shoulder, like I used to. I used to be busy all the time. I used to be stressed out all the time, or I'm healing my high blood pressure, or I'm sleeping better every night. Like that kind of a thing. It seems really nerdy, but it's like whatever we say or we think, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So say what you want, even if you feel like you're full of baloney.
Yeah, it does become self-fulfilling, and you're reiterating. Words are spells, words are magic, words are our perception of reality. So if we're stating, you have to pay attention to the stories you're identifying with and telling yourself and telling other people. And oftentimes we don't even realize that we're living in these stories until we're paying attention to what we say to other people.
Right. That's one of the fun things, though, if you think about it, like that's empowering. Like if you're the playwright and the editor and the main character, like, and you don't like the story, you just change it. You literally just change it. Be like, what? I'm tired of being the Joker. Like, I want to be the queen. Let's go.
Uh-huh.
Right? Change it. Or maybe being the queen was a dragon. You want to be the Joker. I don't know. But like if you get to revise it and write it and edit it, like you're totally in control. So just feel empowered, like have hope, not only with how you feel, but like I said, like with your health, like all of this stuff can regenerate. There is always hope. And I know sometimes it's hard to feel that way. So that's why it's good to start with this health stuff. Because if you detox, if you disinflame, man, you're going to feel a lot better. Then
Hmm.
you're going to feel maybe like doing some of this other stuff, like going to the river, going to the beach, taking your dog for a walk, being nice to your family member, but like just it all goes together, like the physiological, the energetic, the emotional, the spiritual. So you got to feed every piece and then it just becomes easier. But like one thing, just turn off the TV. Like stop watching things that's rotting your brain.
Yes. So simple. I stopped watching TV when after my son was born. I had really bad
Great.
postpartum anxiety, which I didn't even know was a thing until years and years later. Because I was like, I'm not depressed. It's not postpartum depression. And turns out postpartum depression is just an umbrella term for all sorts of whatever postpartum mental, emotional issues that you're dealing with. But TV, I noticed, would really ramp it up. So like I regret watching The Walking Dead. I regret
Oh my
watching
gosh.
Game of
I never watched
Thrones.
that.
I still like it took me it was like it was like I actually experienced those things and had to spend years healing those like secondary trauma is a real
Yeah.
thing.
I never watch scary movies like ever, ever. My son asks, I'm like, no, and he'll beg me, and I'm like, no. Like I like the Care Bears, like like I can't deal with that,
Yes.
dude.
Animation. I love animation. That's the only thing I watch now voluntarily. Every now and then my
When I
husband
was
puts something on, but
when I was a kid, I didn't understand, when they asked what I would be when I would grow up, when I was real little, I would tell people I was going to be a Care Bear. And everybody would laugh at me, and I didn't understand like why they were laughing at me, right? Because I was like a little kid. I'm like, what, why not? And my cousin that was just like a year older than me, like she got it, and she liked to make fun of me. So she would take me to like groups of adults and go, Melanie, why don't you tell them what you're going to be when you grow up? And I'm like, I'm going to be a Care Bear. And then everyone would laugh at me, and I was like,
that's precious. Well, I think, in my humblest opinion and expertise, that you fulfilled that goal and you are absolutely a Care Bear.
thank you. You are too.
Well, thank you. We need more Care Bears. I believe in all of the things that they told us that we should focus on, loving,
Yeah,
caring, giving, sharing, community, togetherness, all
you're
those
so
things.
cute.
All right. Well, tell everybody how they can find you, where they can find you, all of that. And we'll leave it.
Absolutely. I think that, if you're on social media, I'm on most of the social medias, and it's Dr. Mel Holistic with an HOL. Dr. Mel Holistic. And then the website's great because you can jump on there. We have a live webinar once or twice a month. So you can jump on the live webinar. We do questions at the end. And I have a recorded masterclass. If you're like, what is this biohacked heart blueprint? Because I don't want to worry about having a heart attack. Jump on there. It's only 20 minutes. It's not boring. You'll actually really like it. And it's Dr. Melanie, Melanie icard.com, drmelanieicard.com, and there's links for both of that on there. And I'll be updating it about our next Sedona retreat, which is in October. And it's just, that's where the real magic happens because, like we talked about on this podcast, it's so important to just heal all the bodies and we make it really easy for you, and even if we did nothing and you just unplugged and let someone else be in charge in a beautiful place for 4 days, you would heal, but we give you all the things to help you reach that next level. So you can check all that out on the website.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really good time. And if you ever want to come on again and do another episode, just please let me know.
Yeah, and I've never been to Alabama, so I was like, oh, maybe if I go through Alabama, like I'll give you a buzz,
Absolutely. Do a
Sounds like
retreat
it's
out here.
beautiful there.
It is. We have lots of places, lots of waterfalls,
I love
lots of
waterfalls.
waterfalls. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
lots of places, lots of national parks and
So that's what we like. Yeah. And then my one brother, I haven't gone to visit him. He moved to New Orleans. So I don't know if that's on the way because half the time we're in St. Augustine, Florida. So I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know, if maybe we drive through Alabama. I don't know. But we got to go visit him because he loves it and he never leaves. So
cool. I really like New Orleans too. I've
is
been
it
there.
cool? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks cool. Well, thank you so much, Savannah. And I hope that this is good. And whenever you get this ready, if you can send me the long form content, I'm trying to put more long form content out too. So I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay. Thank you so much.